Welcome to the Courage Over Clairty podcast, where we focus not on perfection, but on choosing Christ daily and moving in faith. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Deja, and this is the Courage Over Clairty podcast. This is episode 1, and I want to take this time first to tell you what Courage Over Clairty means to me and what I hope this podcast will be able to do and be for followers of Christ. So, Courage Over Clairty was birthed through my devotional time with God, and it has really reigned true in my life that my faith in Christ has to be fueled by my courage and not my clarity. And when I say that, it means that I have to be fueled by the faithfulness of God, by the goodness of God, and not by Him giving me a full roadmap as to how my life will be. I grew up as someone loving to plan, always looking to have things mapped out. I'm a super planner. I knew exactly how I wanted my life to be, and I just expected for God to just make that happen. And as I got older, as life started to life, I realized that it is His will that I should be striving for, not my own. When I was striving for my own will, there were so many things that I missed the mark on. There were so many things that I would end up ultimately disappointed in because that wasn't God's will for my life. It was my will for my own. And once I stepped outside of wanting things that were not God ordained, my life became so much easier. Once I realized that God would give me the desires of my heart, that He would reveal to me the things that I should desire, life just became so much more fruitful. And I can give you guys like a very direct example of that. Me and my husband met when we were very young. I just turned 16, and we pretty much fell for one another instantly. There was very little in between time. I think that we met a little while after Valentine's Day. And I want to say that we were dating by March the 9th. So not even a full month went by before he asked me to be his girlfriend. And we've pretty much been together ever since. There were definitely some bumps in the road years ago, early on in our relationship, where I think we broke up for like 2 months. And then we were back together. But I say all that to say that during those times, I had an idea of what I wanted my life to look like. And whenever he did not fit into the mold of what I thought a man should be, or a boyfriend or a fiance or a husband, whenever he didn't fit into that mold, I was automatically like, oh, God didn't, this wasn't for me. I chose this, and that's why I'm suffering. Instead of saying that my attitude, my actions, my insistent need to be in control was the issue, I made him the issue. And that ultimately made me feel some type of way. And now I can look back on those situations and those times and say that it was me. I was the problem. And I know not a lot of people can, have hindsight and say that or feel confident saying that. I'm very confident in saying that I was detrimental to my relationship early on because I sought to meet my own expectations instead of allowing God to show me what my expectations should be and reveal to me what a wife should be like first and foremost, what a woman should be like first and foremost, before telling me what my husband or what a man should be. And in finally allowing God to move in my life, not only did I become a better woman, but my spouse became a better husband, not because of my doing, but because instead of telling him what he needed to change and what he needed to do like I had done previously, I took my concerns to God. And God either revealed to me that I was the problem or that He was working and I could release the thing that was bothering me because He was going to do the work on my behalf. And I'm just so grateful that God worked His way into our marriage, that we allowed God to work His way into our marriage, because God is never going to insert Himself where He's not wanted. So our desire for Christ to be in our marriage and in our relationship in general, I think is really what shifted us in such a great direction. Things were good for us before, but things are great for us now. And a perfect indication of that is our daughter. Um, Many people that know us know that we tried to have a kid for quite some time before our daughter actually came into the picture. And there had come a time where we started to lose faith. Well, I'll say I started to lose faith that God was going to give me this child. But as I previously alluded to, I wanted for God to be so involved in my life that He gave me direct information as to what He wanted or desired for me. And one of those things, when I gave my life to Christ, one of those things that He showed me was that He was going to give me children. But after watching so many of my friends have kids, both purposely and accidentally, I started to feel like, okay, I gave my life to you and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Why am I not pregnant? Why do we not have a child yet? We've been together for X amount of years and we still don't have a baby. Um, and that really started to take a toll on me. And I know that the devil really wanted for me to stop believing and stop feeling like I was connected to God, because why would God make me suffer this way? That was like the thought process that was coming up for me at that time. But I had to kick that idea to the curb because I know that God is good. I know that God is faithful. He's shown me that in so many different areas of my life, but there was this one area that just wasn't sitting quite right with me. And I knew that I needed to give that area up to Him, and that this was my test. This was my test of faith. There were so many things that happened in between time, guys, that I won't even go into detail in this first episode about, but there were so many other things leading up to this point that proved to me that courage was way more important than having clarity. But this is the example, I guess, that stands out to me the most. So I had to kick that idea to the curb that God was not going to do what He told me He was going to do. I had to believe that He was going to do exactly what He said, because God does not lie. And He told me and showed me very clearly that He was going to bless us with children. And so, in realizing that this was my test, that this was my test of my faith, I knew that I had to keep pressing. I had to keep pushing toward the mark. I had to keep trying. I had to believe that God was going to bless us. And even in me knowing that, there was a certain part of this season where I was just kind of like, you know what? I got my body, I don't have to worry about growing a human right now. I'm just going to enjoy my life. I'm just going to, dress cute, look good, feel good, and love on my husband. That's what I'm going to focus on. And the baby will come when it's time for the baby to come. Not even 3 full months later, I wake up and I'm feeling super uncomfortable. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, I've never felt like this before. And I'm telling my best friend about how uncomfortable I've been. And she's like, girl, I had those same symptoms when I was pregnant. Mind you, I had been taking pregnancy tests left and right for at least a year at this point. I thought that everything was a sign of pregnancy. But this, I was like, there's no way. I'm finally wrapping my head around, like, God's timing, not mine. And this is not it. Like, this is not a sign that I'm pregnant. And so I just kept believing, like, there's no way that there's no way that this is my sign. This is my indication. But for whatever reason, this really like stood out to me. And this is when I finally decided, you know what? I'm going to take a pregnancy test. I'm going to humor myself and just take one because I'm feeling super uncomfortable. I'm feeling kind of sick. Maybe I need to go to the doctor. So before I make this doctor's appointment, I'm going to take a pregnancy test. So I go downstairs. My husband has just gone to work and I'm up and I'm thinking about it now. My wheels are turning. So I go downstairs and I just so happen to have a few pregnancy tests lying around. And so I take the test and I kind of forget about it. I go about my morning because it's like 7 a.m. I kind of go about my morning, doing my normal thing, still feeling uncomfortable, supposed to be preparing to go on a breast cancer walk with another friend of mine. And it dawns on me that I need to go back and check the test. So I walk back into the bathroom and it's positive. It's a positive pregnancy test. After a year and a half of trying to get pregnant, the test is positive. And initially, I'm shocked. I think that's the best way that I can describe it. I'm shocked and in disbelief that this is actually happening. So I remember taking the pregnancy test and kind of just like pacing around the house. I'm a pacer. I've always been a pacer. Whenever I'm like thinking or talking on the phone or processing or even talking to God, I'll pace. So I just started pacing around my house. And eventually I end up upstairs, and up in our bedroom we have this very long mirror. And I just remember standing in front of the mirror and ugly crying. I mean, the ugliest cry that I could muster is what I gave that day. And I was just looking at my belly and thinking to myself, like, there's no way. What? And I don't know about you guys, but like I told you before, I'm a planner. So I've always had these ideas of how I wanted to tell my parents that I was pregnant, that we were having a baby. I always had these ideas about how I would tell my husband. And when it really came down to it, I couldn't do any of those things. So the first thing I did after I finally like realized that this was real, I immediately called my mom and I'm boohoo crying and I'm telling her that something's wrong. I just got a positive pregnancy test. This can't be right. I need you to come to the house right now and bring a pregnancy test. Mind you, it's still like 7 something in the morning. I haven't been pacing that long. And so my mom wakes up and she's like, okay, I'm on my way. I'm coming. So she stops by the store and she gets a box, like 10 pregnancy tests. So it's like 3 pee on a stick type things, and then I know TMI, and then like 7 of the strips that you like, you know, if you've taken a pregnancy test, you know. So she brings these over, and I immediately take 2 of the pee on a stick tests, and we're kind of sitting there, and she's looking at the original test, and she's like, "Yeah, I mean the line is faint, but it's definitely there." And so we take the other pregnancy test. And with those, there was no way we would forget that I had taken them. We were both like anxiously waiting. I think we had a timer set. And so we look at them, and now we have 3 positive pregnancy tests sitting in front of us. And at that point, I realized that this was real and that God's promises for me with this situation have been yes. And he had revealed that to me a couple times before. But like I told you guys, in this time, I've been waiting for so long. It had been almost a year and a half of us trying and to no avail. And to see those positive pregnancy tests, I was filled with so much joy and excitement. And I could not wait to tell my husband. And so that night, I put together a scavenger hunt for him. And I still have this video where he's walking around the house finding different clues. And it was probably one of the most special moments that we've ever had in our marriage. I'm trying not to get too emotional, but it just really reminds me every time I think about that or tell someone about that story, how faithful God was. And it wasn't on my timing. And I think that's what bothered me so much is that me and my husband have been together for so long. And we knew so many people who'd met years and years and years after us who had kids, people who had got married before us. And as a planner, ding, 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 um, I was very good at comparing myself to other people. And that's something that God got rid of that early in my walk with him, like very, very early. Comparison is the thief of joy, as we all know, and that was something that I had to let go of. I had to let go of comparing myself to other people and their situations, because my walk is not their walk. My relationship with God is not their relationship with God, if they have one at all. And in realizing this, it really helped me to see the beauty in my own life. And that's something that I really want to inspire my listeners to do, to find the beauty in your life. Stop worrying about what other people have, what other people are doing, the blessings that other people are receiving. I've told friends of mine in the past that, because I heard it from someone else, I did not make this up. If God is blessing a friend of mine, he's in my neighborhood because I'm connected to them. And I have to believe that his promises are yes and amen. He may not give me exactly what I want, but he'll give me exactly what I need. And even if he doesn't bless me while he's in the neighborhood, if we're using that same analogy, even if he doesn't bless me while he's in the neighborhood, if he doesn't do anything else for me than what he's already done, he's done enough. And I'm grateful for that. I had to get to a place in my journey before we had our daughter to where I realized that I could not praise the gift more than the giver. I could not glorify and worship the possibility of having children over God. And I think that for me, I can't speak for anyone else. For me, that is why God didn't give me a child when I wanted one. Because he knew that that child would sit on the throne of my heart, that he would not, that child would take his place. And he needed to show me that you can live regardless of if a child is in the picture or not. I promised you that I would give you a child, but I didn't say when. And if your love for me is contingent upon you having this child, then you won't have it. And that may seem harsh to some people, but for me, that's exactly what I needed. I needed to know that God was going to give me what he said, but I could not allow that gift. I could not allow my child to be the thing that I worship now. And that realization, I think, really pivoted my relationship with God. I had taken the focus off of things and people. I hadn't taken the focus off of relationships and friendships just yet. That came later. But yeah, it's been a journey with me and God. It's been a journey. He has humbled me in so many areas of my life. But in this particular area, that shift really catapulted me into motherhood. And I'm so grateful for that time. I can honestly look back on that year and a half of trying and say, like, God was really moving in my life the whole time. When I'm thinking he's not hearing me anymore, he doesn't care, he's not listening, he was moving pieces around on my behalf every step of the way. And I love that for me. And I say all that to say, like, God will shift things for you too. God will shift things for you. We have to have courage. We have to believe. We have to seek him and not just worry about what we can see right in front of our faces. We have to have faith. And that's why I named the podcast Courage Over Clairty. And then the tagline is Moving in Faith. Because if you are courageous, if you have courage, you are not operating from a place of, oh, I can see everything exactly how it's going to happen. And I'm going to follow this yellow brick road down to Oz. And when I get there, everything's going to be perfect. But instead, you are like, I don't see a path ahead. There are no blocks, no bricks, no nothing in front of me. I'm just going to walk. because God told me to walk in this direction. And I'm prayerful that whatever I'm supposed to stumble upon will be on this path. I can't see anything. I'm just walking. And that is where my life shifted, guys. Like, that is where things started changing for me. When I stopped looking for a path and I just started walking. And it was such a powerful thing. And I was so on fire for God at that time. I still am. But at that time, when you're praying for a child, anybody who has dealt with some degree of infertility knows when you are believing God for a child, it can be the most difficult time of your life. I imagine it's the same when you are seeking God to give you a husband or seeking God to shift your career. I imagine it's a similar feeling when you are waiting for God to do something very specific in your life and you're not getting that thing. It'll cause you to pause. It'll cause you to doubt. It'll cause you to pull back from God because you're like, what is happening? Why am I not getting this thing? What am I missing? You're missing Him. We have to want and crave and desire God more than we desire His gifts or His blessings. We have to. Because why would I give you something to worship more than me? And when I say that, I'm saying, why would God give us something to worship more than we worship Him? Why would He do that? But if He knows that He has your heart, that He has your love, He can give you the desires of your heart, if they're within His will, of course, without issue. Because He, like a father, of course, like a father and a mother, we want to give our children the best of the best. That is what we desire. I'm sure there are very few parents that are looking at their children like, I just want to give you the least that I can give you and just keep it pushing and you'll love me for that. No, we want to give our children the best of the best. And in order to do that, sometimes we have to show them tough love. Sometimes we have to say no. Because what you want and what I have for you are totally different in some cases. And so instead of giving you that small thing that you want, I'm going to give you this big thing, but you just have to wait. You just have to wait. And I'm so grateful that God made me wait, because that waiting period was where our relationship was really formed. That's where I really came to know Him in a deeper way. And it really, really shaped what our relationship is today. And I'm just beyond grateful. And so that is where, full circle moment, that is where the Courage Over Clairty podcast came from. I realized that I had to have courage and keep moving, even though nothing in front of me showed that the end result was going to be what I desired. I had to keep going as if it was already mine, because God had already given me every indication that He was going to do exactly what He said He would do. And He was going to fulfill the promises that He had given to me, but I had to keep going. I couldn't give up on Him. He had never left me. He had been by my side when every tear was shed, when every prayer was sent up. He was there. He was right beside me. And it felt like one of the loneliest seasons of my life. But I wasn't alone. I wasn't alone. Not only was my husband there, but God was there as well. Through every phase. And now I can look back at my life and say that God truly has done a work in me. In my marriage, in my relationship with my child. I appreciate and love her in a way that is undescribable. but not like I worship her. But I appreciate her for the gift that she is, for the blessing that she is. A gift given to me and my husband directly from God. That's how I see her. And it fills me with so much love and so much peace to know that God hears me, because he heard me when I cried out to him for her. He gave me vision and he gave me dreams about what having this child would be like. And he did not disappoint. Everything that he told me that she would be, she is. And I'm sorry I'm crying on this podcast, but when we talk about what this podcast means to me, I just want to show people that God has not forgotten you. And I hope to bring other people on the podcast that can share their God has not forgotten you story. And I'm so excited to learn and grow and talk through and have difficult conversations about our faith walk, because it can be so isolating. It can feel so lonely, but we all go through these seasons and we all come out of them. And as we come out, I want to build community. I want to show people that there are other like-minded people seeking Christ just like you. We have questions, we have desires, we have weak moments, but we always remember that God's strength is made perfect in our weakness. And because of that, we have no reason to fear. None whatsoever. I'm so grateful to be able to talk to you all and walk you through my journey and the journeys of others. And I'm looking forward to what this community will be. So please be sure to share this podcast with your friends, your family, people that you don't know, just everybody. My goal is to reach as many people as I can and inspire them to trust God. I'm not looking to be anyone's anything, but I'm looking to help remind people that Jesus is everything. And I hope that you will help me walk out this journey and support it. So again, share it with your friends, your family, people that you don't know. Share it with everyone. Talk, comment, send messages. I would love to hear what you guys think. I would love to get the feedback. And I will see you guys next time.